Hello, everybody. This is Keith Ellison, Congressman Keith Ellison. Welcome to our live, what do we call this? What? Tele-Town Hall. We're streaming live and direct to you. And really want to welcome everybody here and say thank you for tuning in. Hey, look, guys, it's the first time we've done this. So if there are a few hiccups, be patient with us. We're doing all we can to communicate with you as directly as we can. And we want to respond to questions and also want to share a few thoughts. But I want to tell you that if you want to participate in the dialogue, all you have to do is you have to type in on your chat on the right side to let me know what's on your mind or what you want me to respond to, and we'll dive right in. We don't have the technological sophistication or the money to have like a back and forth way between you and I like as we're all on screen, but you can hear me and you can chat back to me if you want me to respond to anything. And so look, why wait around? Let's just get started. A few more details on Facebook, Ellison for Congress. On Twitter, Ellison Campaign. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but my other Twitter is Keith Ellison, at Keith Ellison. But Ellison for Congress, at Ellison Campaign. And the other one is Ellison for, is just Keith Ellison. So first question. William Smith from St. Paul and Don from St. Peters, Missouri, asked me, what can be done to save Social Security? Excellent question. The main thing we can do is raise the cap. I think lifting the cap on Social Security is the best thing to do. Also, counting non-wage income, like carried interest, as we tabulate Social Security, another thing that we can do. Many people may not know, but Social Security is only taxed up to about, I think it's up to $117,000. Beyond that, it's not taxed. So for the very, very, very rich, they're done with paying Social Security very early in their income gains. For the rest of us who make 80, 60, 92, 105, you're paying Social Security on everything you make. So one thing we can do is we can raise the cap. And I want to thank William and Don for that question. Why do members of Congress who have great benefits call for gutting Social Security programs? Well, not all members of Congress call for gutting Social Security programs. Not all do, and it's important to make a distinction between who's calling for it and who's standing up for Social Security. Why do I say that? Because the far right wing wants you to just be mad at all of Congress. They're all doing this. They're all bad. Because if you do that, and you conclude we're all bad and nobody's standing up for Social Security, you may check out. And if you check out, then you're not going to vote, you're not going to participate, which means that the electorate is going to shrink, which means the right wing has fewer people to deal with. So I urge everybody to be a good student of the issues and understand we're not talking about all members of Congress. We're talking about some. And why are they trying to get gut social programs? Because they believe that the poor are lazy and that if the poor have social supports, then the poor will just lay up at home and not do anything. You all will remember Paul Ryan making reference to poor people laying up on a hammock or something like that. Oh, by the way, if you see me turn over here, I'm just doing some quickie research. So don't worry about that. Yeah, Paul Ryan made the point that people are laying up on hammocks in the safety net, and this has become to be known as the hammock fallacy. The reality is that poor people work really hard. As a matter of fact, most poor people are folks who many poor people hold jobs, many people who qualify for food stamps, other social safety net programs, work hard every single day. And so this idea of the lazy poor is not true, and we need to confront this idea. So I urge all of you who are listening to the broadcast tonight to make sure that you don't let people get away. We went dark, by the way. I just went dark. Oh no, we're back on. Sorry, guys. Don't let people get away with these saying these false things about poor people. I mean, as I said, the direct quote from Paul was, "We don't want to turn the safety net into a hammock that lulls able-bodied people into complacency and dependence." It's just not true. It's rooted in the idea of the lazy poor, the undeserving poor, and it allows right-wingers to justify cutting social safety net programs, reduce the expenditure of government. Government then has less resources to help people, protect them from predatory mortgages, protect them from polluted air and water, protect them from other bad things out there, dangerous meat. Also protect people from, and also, the government has less resources to protect our natural forests and our parklands and things like that. So people want to cut social safety net, reduce government resources, so that the multinational corporate interests, the Koch brother type interests, can have greater power relative to government and do whatever they want to do, and basically subvert representative democracy. This is why I think that people call for gutting social programs. And that's Hope from New Haven, Connecticut. Hope, thanks for your question. Why does the GOP want to lie and say Social Security and Medicare are going broke? Well, Social Security and Medicare are not going broke. There are adjustments to the program that we can and should make in order to keep the programs viable. Social Security is a program viable up till 2037, and Medicare has a shorter timeline than that, but efficiencies and adjustments can certainly preserve the program. I will tell you that on the first day of Congress, Republicans did take a step to undermine Social Security disability benefits by stopping and making it not lawful for Social Security disability to seek support from Social Security. This is something that has been done in the past, hasn't created any problem, but they have basically set another ticking time bomb, just like what they just did with the Homeland Security a few weeks ago, and we will be dealing with that in the not too distant future. But why do they do that? Because what they want to have happen with Social Security and Medicare is they want to voucherize it, so privatize it. See, all that money in the Social Security Trust Fund and all the money Social Security collects, just think if Wall Street traders could get their hands on it and manage private accounts. It would mean untold new riches for these folks. And they don't want and they want their hands on that money. So they want to privatize it. We're not going to let them privatize it. So they got to say that the program is broken, call for, enforce a crisis, and then offer themselves as a solution. It's basically what's going on. In fact, why don't Democrats call them paid benefits? Well, they do. I'm a Democrat who calls Social Security an earned benefit all the time. And I think that we need to do that. That's John from New Mexico. John, that's a good point. I'll try to follow that. You do too. Economy. How did you vote on the people's budget and why? Well, Carla from Minneapolis, I voted yes on the people's budget. Thank you for asking. And I voted for it because it was a budget that prioritized jobs and good jobs. The people's budget creates 8.4 million jobs by 2018. People's budget puts a tax on carbon, which we need to do. People's budget strips big oil, gas, and coal companies of subsidy. Why do they need our money? They're making all kinds of money anyway. The people's budget is a budget that puts a small sales tax on Wall Street stocks and bonds and derivatives, which would generate $3 billion a year. This is not a new concept. The United States used to have a transactions tax. European countries are looking very closely at it, and it would be a beneficial thing. Where do we go from here on the people's budget? Leela of Los Angeles asked that. Well, here's where we go. We take the people's budget as sort of a blueprint, and we look at the various pieces of it and we make arguments based on it. So we're in an area of infrastructure. I know in Los Angeles you have ports there. They can be made bigger, wider, where the screen's starting to go dark again. We can do infrastructure development all over the country. In fact, the people's budget calls for $820 billion of infrastructure spending over the next 10 years. So bottom line is we push these programs, we push these ideas so that we can rebuild America. Just think about it. How many electricians could we hire? If we laid fiber optic cable all over America? If we repaired our roads and our bridges? I'm from Minneapolis. We had our bridge fall into the Mississippi River 6 years ago. I'm telling you, we have many bridges in this state that need repair. And by the way, so do you, no matter where you live in America. We need to invest in our nation's infrastructure, and the people's budget allows us a platform to do that. What else do we do? Well, we talked about the importance of public sector jobs. One of the things that's happened since 2008 is we've laid off a lot of firefighters, police officers, teachers' aides, public works people who repair our lights and make our cities function, repair the potholes. And we've laid off a lot of these people. You know what? The people's budget helps local government put those folks back on the job so they can help folks. I can assure you, I've talked to a lot of local police officers who've told me, look, the burn and JAG and COPS grants have declined. We have fewer officers, a smaller force. We don't have as many people doing community patrol, getting out of the cars, making relationships as they should be doing. And it's because of the overall decline in budgets. And so that's where we go from there. We use it as a platform for ideas throughout the year. Also, one idea that I want to mention before we move off of is we plus up the labor department, which goes out to make sure that companies are paying workers right and fairly. There's a lot of companies that misclassify workers as independent contractors when they're not really independent contractors. There's a lot of companies that pay people that say, okay, we're going to give you 8-hour shift with a half an hour break and two 15-minute breaks, and then say, well, we're too busy, so you can't have your break. Oh, but we're going to still take away the money we took for your lunch and your breaks that you were. So you work 8 hours and pay you for 7. Happens all the time. This literally is amount of millions and millions of dollars. And so we have people who are working in wage and hour, and we've plussed up that department to make sure Americans can get their proper pay. So can we please have a very small transactions tax on Wall Street transactions and make capital gains the same as working income? That was a point by Susan from West Fork, Arkansas. Yes, we can. It's in the people's budget. I can tell you that this is exactly what we've called for, the people's budget. This is a good idea. And let me tell you, I'm glad to see that there's folks in West Fork, Arkansas, who are talking about the public interest and what's good for America. Thank you very much, Susan, for that point. Then what can be done to address income inequality? Well, let's start by strengthening the right to bargain collectively. Workers who have the position and the market power to tell their bosses, we're not going to be able to work unless you pay us properly. We're not going to be able to work unless you give us fair and safe working conditions to work in. Those workers are in a position to improve their lifestyle and their job. But we've seen attacks on the National Labor Relations Board. Right now we see an attack in the Supreme Court. We've seen, Wisconsin is the 25th state to have a right to work, which basically allows legal freeloading. The union works hard, fights hard for better wages and conditions, and yet some people can still work their benefit from all those conditions and not pay a penny for it. Well, that's wrong. I mean, that's like me saying, well, you know what? I'm not paying I'm not paying for cleaning the streets because I don't want to pay that bill. Well, I benefit from clean streets. It's like saying I'm not paying the fire department taxes. Well, if a fire starts in my house, they're still going to put the fire out even if I don't pay. Well, you know what? That's why everybody has to pay their fair share. That's what fair share is. And as a matter of fact, we're just saying that's all that it means to have a good, solid um, labor law. That means that when workers bargain and unite collectively, that everybody's benefits ought to be contributing to the cost of that, and yet that's under attack. So the right to collective bargaining, fair workers' rights conditions, real meaningful penalties when companies fire union organizers and pro union sentiments. These are some things that are going to help out. Plus, we've got to invest in our economy. That would help wages and help income inequality. Using the public sector to invest um, in public investment would make a huge difference. And there's many other ideas, many of which can be found in the people's budget. So check it out. All right. Okay, now let's talk about trade. What is the Trans-Pacific Partnership and why does it matter? Well, the Trans-Pacific Partnership is kind of like NAFTA on steroids. If you've ever heard of the North American Free Trade Agreement that involved Canada, the United States, and Mexico, basically reduced tariffs between these countries, allowed for mechanized corn-made production, mass factory production in the United States, dump it in Mexico. Mexican workers, Mexican farmers put out of business, come up to the north to be, I don't know, work in the hotel or something, do whatever they can to survive. I mean, the NAFTA has been a net job loser. They told us that it would create about 200,000 jobs a year. It's actually lost us many jobs. Now look, corporations have made a lot of money on NAFTA, so some people are happy about it. But when it comes to working conditions, wages, and immigration, what they have done is that they have undermined working conditions for workers in all three countries, actually. Um, but they promised increase wages and help the people do better, but they didn't do it. Now, the North American Free Trade Company Agreement is not three countries; it is 11, and we have trade deficits with six of them already. One of them, Vietnam, has it is illegal to form a union. If you try to form a union in Vietnam, you will get arrested if you're lucky. If you're not, something worse may happen. Colombia, the same way. They kill more trade unionists there than anywhere. And the fact is that it's people who are bargaining, trying to organize on the job in Colombia, literally are taking their lives in their hands. So we're going to do a trade agreement with these countries where a company can pick up stakes in America, move to Vietnam, take advantage of the human rights violations there, and therefore the lower working pay, which is about 52 cents minimum wage in Vietnam. And how can the American worker compete with somebody who has no rights to organize and makes 52 cents an hour? It's just wrong. And so my thing is the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is a trade bill being proposed to Congress right now. I have been an opponent of it. There are many of us in Congress who are vocally asking the question of the administration: how's this going to affect wages? How's this going to affect working conditions? How's this going to affect jobs? And they have not been able to assure us that it's going to be any better. They said, well, before with NAFTA, the titles of the agreement that had to do with labor and environment were side agreements not contained within NAFTA and were not enforceable. I said, that's true, but you told us they didn't need to be inside the agreement last time, and we were going to get more jobs, and we lost jobs. And so how is this going to be any different? You told us it was going to be great last time. You're telling us it's going to be great this time, and yet there's nothing other than, words that you're putting out there. And, we don't have to go all the way back to NAFTA to figure out how some of these very poorly written trade deals affect workers. In fact, the South Korea trade deal, I was meeting with one administration official who said, Keith, exports from the United States to South Korea are up 35%. I said, wait a minute, but our imports up way, way higher than that. In fact, we have lost jobs and increased the trade deficit to South Korea. So Bottom line is none of these trade agreements have been working for us. But I want to be clear. I'm not anti-trade. I'm for trade. But I think the first question whenever we talk about trade should be, is it worker focused? Do we start out with what's good for the worker? That should be the first question. Then how does it treat the environment? Then does this increase or decrease the likelihood that we'll be able to get the goods and services that we need? What about food inspection? What about one thing that's being hotly disputed now is something they call the investor-state dispute resolution. And this is a that if believes that the actions of a member state are going to impinge upon their profits, they can sue that state, and the issue will be resolved by a three-lawyer panel made up of international lawyers. Well, the problem with that is that you have countries like Australia who have tried to dissuade their people from smoking and have gotten sued by tobacco companies because they think that's going to hurt their profits. You have places like Quebec where there were industrial accidents where there was big blow-ups and a lot of people died, and they try to put a moratorium on fracking. They get sued by a corporation. The bottom line is, and I was a lawyer for 16 years, just the threat of a lawsuit sometimes can stop or start certain actions. And so when governments looking out for their own constituents have to be worried about what some corporate entity is going to sue them in an international tribunal when they're simply doing health and safety measures, is something that really is worrisome to me, and I think that it should be worrisome to you too. What do you think the chances are for TPP and TPIP are of being fast-tracked? Okay, fast-track. Not everybody knows what fast-track is. Fast-track is the precursor. It's what comes first before we ever get to the Trans-Pacific Partnership or the Transatlantic Partnership. What fast-track is they ask, we pass a bill that says that we're going to take the congressional constitutional authority, hand it to the administration, and the administration then will negotiate the deal, and members of Congress will be able to vote yes or no, but will not be able to offer amendments to the trade deal. Now, you should know that the Constitution in Article 8 says that Congress has the authority to engage in negotiations around trade with foreign nations. Now, that authority, I believe, was given to Congress because trade deals always are going to affect local economies one way or another. Trade is something that affects folks at the local unit of government, and members of Congress who are represented by citizens all over this country, I believe, are in the best position to assess the harms and the benefits of a trade deal. That's why we are part of this thing. Now, this fast track is asking us to give away our authority in this area to the administration who will negotiate the trade deal. And will they be fast tracked? I hope not. I'm not for fast track because I don't believe in giving away my constitutional authority, even to a president I like a whole lot. And I do support President Obama. Some of you are thinking, well, don't we need to support the president? Well, let me tell you, I'm always trying to figure out how to support the president. I do think the president's an awesome guy, and I'd like to support him whenever I can. I support him on the Affordable Care Act. I supported him on Dodd-Frank. I support him on the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. I support him on his immigration action. And I've supported him on many things. But on this trade deal, it's just bad for jobs, bad for workers, so I can't do it. So that one, we're going to have to agree to disagree and stay friends anyway. Now, there is one issue I want to talk to you about before I close up. We told you we'd only keep you on for about a half hour. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is turnout. In the last election, we had 36% of the people turn out to vote. 36%. You know what, folks? We cannot pass single-payer health care with 36%. We cannot raise the wages with 36%. We can't protect Social Security with 36%. We need a renaissance in civic engagement in the United States of America. you need to know that this is a 72-year low, but it's not like we were voting in the high numbers and then dropped in 1 year. This has been a slow decline. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One of them is all the negative campaigning and the TV-driven campaigns. You see, negative campaigning, a politician is not trying to get another politician to have for him or her. Negative campaigning means I'm trying to get that other politician's constituent voter not to vote for that other politician. I don't expect to get that vote. In fact, I'm trying to dampen down the other person's vote, and then they negative campaign me, and then my electorate goes down. Theirs, then mine, then theirs, then mine. Before you know it, we end up at 36% voter turnout. We need to do something here, folks, because we cannot have a vibrant democracy with 36% voter turnout. We have a crisis of democracy, in my opinion, and we need you to do something about it. Every member of Congress, in my opinion, who believes in prosperity for working people, sustainability in our environment, and civil and human rights for all, and access to technology and education for all, anybody who believes in that, they need to be trying to increase voter turnout. And if I was a donor or if I was a volunteer, my question would be, what are you doing to produce increased turnout? If I were a person who was thinking about, who was in a safe, so-called safe seat, you know, like you get some Democrats and they win by 70%, like I do, and some other places. You know, you might think, well, what do they got to do? Can't they just sit around on election day? No, absolutely not. A person who is in a safe seat needs to work harder than anyone else to turn out the vote, because that's the way we get more Democratic governors, more Democratic state legislatures. The bottom line is, when Governor Dayton won re-election in the state of Minnesota by an overwhelming margin, none of us forgot that he had won in a recount only 4 years before. When Al Franken won in an overwhelming victory, none of us forgot that he won by 312 votes last time. This is because we went to work and we really got the vote out. So in like heavily Democratic areas like New York City, Los Angeles, like Atlanta, New Orleans, if we increase turnout, if we maximize turnout, we have a better shot in winning statewide. And then you can be not sitting up there as the only Democrat in Congress or in the state legislature. You can actually really affect the outcomes of the states. Now, I just want to tell you this. The right wing has decided that squashing and shrinking turnout is in their interest. How do I know? Well, look at Paul Weyrich. This is a right-wing conservative ideologue who writes and thinks and talks about conservatism and promoting it. And he helped start the Heritage Foundation and other right-wing entities like that. And he said one time, conservatives need to stop trying to get people out to vote. In fact, our chances of increasing electoral success go up when we decrease and shrink the size of the electorate. If he believes that, well, they sure are acting like that, because think about it. When the Shelby County case went to the Supreme Court and Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was struck down, that same day, within hours, within a few days, voting ID bills hit legislatures all over this country. Think about that. They have a legal strategy. They have a state strategy. They also have a PR strategy. They're running around talking about fraud here, fraud there, fraud everywhere, when they really couldn't find a voter impersonation anywhere. So they had a program. Why? Because they know that shrinking the electorate increases their chances of moving forward the conservative agenda. And if that's true, then isn't increasing the electorate getting more people to vote, getting young people to vote, old people to vote, people all colors to vote, workers to vote, small business people to vote, women to vote? Is people participating in democracy something that we should be doing? Isn't that going to increase our chances of electoral success? I will. And it is the antidote for Citizens United. Citizens United depends upon dumping a bunch of money into some TV ads where most of them are going to be negative anyway. But what we're talking about, a field-oriented campaign where we're promoting turnout, going door to door, building social relationships. Look, you're going to believe me, your neighbor, who's talking to you and loaning you sugar sometimes, inviting you over for barbecue sometimes. You're going to believe me over some stupid TV ad who's talking bad about, somebody running for office. And so, actually, Citizens United can be defeated with a turnout strategy. And as I said, if we have a turnout strategy, not only will it help us win, it'll help us govern after we win. Because after we win, then we're going to have all these alive citizens, engaged citizens who want to have their views reflected in government. And they're going to be vocal and they're going to be participating and they're going to help drive an agenda. So I wanted to lay that on you. Hopefully you guys will give me your feedback on these ideas. We believe that we need to prioritize turnout. We need to make candidates use field campaigns. We need to make candidates raise money in smaller amounts. We need to get candidates talk as opposed to doing TV and doing call time. We need to make sure that we are building community through these campaigns. So with that, everybody, that's all I have for you tonight. We might come back and get with you again later. It's been a lot of fun talking with you. I can tell you that on Facebook, Ellison for Congress, Facebook, Ellison for Congress, and on Twitter, at Ellison Campaign, at Ellison Campaign, and I have another Twitter, which is at Keith Ellison. Hit me up any kind of way you want. I love your feedback. I'm grateful to serve you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening. God bless America, guys. Love you. Take care.